just right off the top of the show, I'd like to announce that we are rebranding the show. It will now be called the One Nice Jewish Boy podcast. And here's Felix Peterman, our One Nice Jewish Boy.
Yeah, on the heels of Evil Patrick and Caleb from Pod About List's successful podcast, Two Nice Jewish Boys, we decided why not give the formula a try. This comes on the heels of our failed attempted rebrand, the Massachusetts Institute of Tricknology, which is the world's only white-hosted Black Israelite podcast with a focus on Massachusetts politics from a leftist perspective.
Well, I'm beaming in from Massachusetts myself today, separate from the Institute of Tricknology, but I would like to introduce our guest for today. It's one of our oldest friends. It's James Adomian, back on the One Nice Jewish Boy podcast. Welcome to our Jewish podcast, James.
Hi. I want to know how you guys come down on Senator Ed Markey.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up to Ed Malarkey. But James, it's been a while, but I was wondering, did you see today on the social media the clips from the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast?
No, I have not. I guess this is the joke. This is where we are.
All right. Well, imagine a show featuring it's Israel's #1 English language podcast, and imagine a show with two nice Jewish boys who just sort of riffed out in the style of Joseph Goebbels.
So I would, if you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. That's just, I think most Israelis
if
probably
that's
agree.
the choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, imagine two 39-year-old boys who also aren't nice either. That's the other thing. They're neither nice nor boys.
Holy Roman Empire.
Yes, it is very much a Holy Roman Empire situation. But the clip that was shared today was these two chuckleheads yucking it up about how if they're ever